I just really love music, you know, and I think it's also a good face to the world when you look at Hobla Weberi, what they were able to accomplish. And it was the one time women were also like the women artists were the main, like, you know, the high points. Like they were bigger and better than the male artists.
Okay.
And I think this says a lot about a society when women have access, when women have resources. Even their songs, I'm like, I don't listen to too many of like older men's songs.
Mhm.
I'm like, because mahad ishege sad. Like, you know, like some of it sounds nice. Um, but the women, like between the lahan and their voice and the way they're expressing themselves, like you feel something, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, Hassan Alan Samatar is cool, but it's that I'm like, I like listening to it, but I never miss it. It's not something that I need to listen to. Like Nim'i Yassin now, like literally, like I'm like aling with her in every single song. Like it makes, you know, when we did our podcast years ago, we talked about how coming here made us into women.
Yeah.
And so I think Somali music for me is a big part of my journey into
Oh,
womanhood.
that's beautiful.
Like and yeah. And so I think maybe that's also like as I'm getting older, I'm able to be because I very like well, I don't want to say masculine energy, but there was like I carry a lot of masculine energy by just who I am. But I was very closed off, and I very much felt like if I said anything that let go how I was feeling, I would lose power. Like if I was vulnerable, I'd lose power.
Oh.
And now I think I don't necessarily feel the same. I'm not going around isling over people, but you know now I'm like I think I can maturely handle expressing my feelings a little bit, and
Nice.
it's not the end of the world.
I
Um,
love that music did that for you. It's particularly female artists.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think so that's why Somali music is important to me. Oh, but I was gonna say, so I've been talking to different people about this, especially like academics that like work in musicology like randomly, and now like they're using things that I've sent them or things that I've written about Somali artists in like their syllabuses,
It's amazing.
and I'm like,
That's where the English language comes in handy.
yes,
Mhm.
and that's where also that there's a lot more in common. And I think the one thing, especially about Somalia, like before the war in the 70s and the 80s, if you even look at like I always very much like Hobla Wabiri, they were very much like very Somali cultural carrying entities, very like small. But in Mogadishu, you had other bands that were very much like music first. Like, so they would sing in English and they would sing blues and they would do the jazz, like Sharero band and things like that, and Durdur band. And if you look at the fact that in Mogadishu in the 70s and the 80s, these people were so connected to the world that they would sing like Sam Cooke and stuff like that. Like all these jazz musicians that were really big in America, they were singing it in Mogadishu. And to see the fact that now we've been so disconnected from the world that there's no way even that we could language wise, cultural wise, engage on a global platform
Mhm.
also makes me feel really bad and also makes me even more want to kind of continue this work in a way that will engage with the global sphere because we were already doing this. This is not new to us. But that's a lot of and that's why I like looking at the past as a way of like kind of following where we could go because for me, it shows that there were no limits
Nice.
on what Somalis could do or like were doing or were, period. Now there's a lot of excuses. There's a lot of like, especially in Hargeisa, then we're very, very, very localized. And I appreciate visiting here. One of the reasons I wouldn't want to live here is I don't want to ever ascribe to that kind of localized culture. I think that it's a big waste of time in the grand scheme of things. Like, even though I understand,
I'm gonna challenge you, yeah.
yeah, that's fine. And I think that there's a lot that Somaliland could do and needs to do, and they have the resources, the manpower, a lot of those things like for the society to move forward. There's a lot of things that are happening that I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that are qualified to kind of push it in a certain way and but there's just too many.
What I find here, though, it's like it's hard to start a movement and push things in any way because our people they're not pushable. You can't
Yeah,
push.
yeah,
But with individualism and doing your own thing,
yeah.
our people will follow.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So I always used to say that back in the days that it could like there's the biggest learning lesson I've learned from this experience is that you really just have to be yourself and go.
There you go.
You can't wait to, you can't ask for permission. You can't ask anybody for help. Like, literally, I used to try to be like, oh, I want to learn from you all. And they would never give me what I needed.
Mm.
It was, oh, so then when I just started creating my own lane, then they're like, oh, yeah, she's, she does this and this and that. And then I'm like, I asked, like, you could have helped, like,
Yeah.
but
But that's what makes you way more stronger and confident in your own ability too.
yeah.
Those are some of the biggest takeaways from being stuck in this, I would say, very rejuvenating environment.
Yeah. I will see how I feel about the rejuvenation when I leave because I
Yeah.
feel like you just are kind of running on adrenaline.
Yeah.
And I always have an experience when I go back home, I need to sleep for like a week. And
Hmm.
then
It's because this place it's a very overwhelming learning curve
yeah,
in every aspect.
life, yeah.
There's so many overstimulating things that are happening. There's so much that you're proud of that you're learning, and then there's still things going. That's why I was really shocked to hear you say that a lot of your work, you look back into the past. Like you went all the way back into jazz times in Mogadishu. Like that's amazing that your forward is actually our past.
Yeah.
So to work forward but be stuck on the past, that's an amazing concept. I didn't actually realize that
Yeah.
until you vocalized it here. Thank you for doing that because there's so much more to you, Amina, than just what you write and what you do on your podcast. But yeah, you're a bubble. You're a big burst of information overload. But I appreciate your space that you're taking up for because it's for a bigger cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, all your writings and the way you cross analyze things, I'll never forget when you broke down El Caso to me and you were like, "Do you not remember back in the day when we were wearing those t-shirts down to here? He was too." And I was like, "Oh yeah."
And the basketball jerseys, like,
Mhm.
because I think also we forget every time my baby sister was born in 2003, and that was like the heyday of like Nelly, Chingy, and all of these things.
Yeah.
And so my sister doesn't care about like the African American identity, which I also think is crazy because that's all I had.
Yeah.
Like, it was like black, white, Spanish. That was like my America.
Mm-hmm.
We were not multicultural at that time in any way. And so when I showed her music videos that were very popular in the year that she was born, she was like, this is atrocious fashion. I'm like, wallahi, there's واحد كهدلين سنة يلبسين لهاي. Like, the women were half, like, everything was like, now I'm like, that's also, I moved away from rap music at a conscious age.
Okay.
Right before I came to Hargeisa, and it was because they were getting into the mumble rap, and I just couldn't bang with it anymore. I really do love words, and I love clever wordplay, and I'm like, also the Nelly Chingy stuff was the teenage, that's what was cool. We didn't have any other alternative. I wasn't really like that sub alternate at that point or whatever, or subversive. But now, then when I like got older, I was just like, I can't do the mumble rap. And you know the craziest story of all time is I was in Minneapolis in 2023, and there was this guy that was dressed like typical, like Arab, like, the black thing, the black, and then he had the typical Arab, like he's Somali though.
Okay.
And I was with this guy, and they knew each other from like Africa. So then they started talking to each other. They said, "Hey, Sheikh," da, da, da. And then the Sheikh started playing music, and then they were like, and then the person I was with was like, "Sheikh, like, what are you doing listening to music?" Turns out this sheikh used to be a rapper in Chichiga.
Amazing.
And then, know his songs. Like, I was like, I do not, because I wasn't wearing a hijab at the time. So then when everybody walked away, he's like, well, Allah wahaduna, and I had, blah, 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 and I said, whatever, I left my hijab in the car, my bad. Like, all right, cool. Inshallah, next time. Then they kept, so then the guys was like, these two are artists. And I said, no way, I need to see right now your music. And then he showed me, and I said, I know this song. Like, I know this song. And then he was telling me about his experience in Chichiga. He was like, he had dreadlocks. He's like, Migos? And I said, yeah, I stopped listening to rap music when Migos came out.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's like I escutei today. So he had a chain on in Chichiga. He had dreadlocks. He had girls twerking in his music videos in Chichiga.
That's unbelievable.
And me and my friend were just like, and then the guy I was with was like, I've never seen this. He's like, I'm gonna watch this later. And I was just like, Hargeisa, Mogadishu, I've never seen this.
Yeah.
And Chichiga is like a smaller city compared to the others, You were doing this in Chichiga? I was like, and then I was like, Inader, how old are you? He's like, oh, I'm 24. He's like, now I want to be an actor. I said, listen,
I'm
you have,
sorry, he's still wearing this full Arab getup.
yes. I said, وديرتها, you still have time in advance كوسو نقدر هدنا كبحدين, you know? I was, I was like, I was like, this is the craziest experience of my life. I was like, I literally you can't make this up.
Yeah, you also can't have that experience if you didn't do the work and the research that you did. And I think
Yeah.
that would have led you to those places and the knowledge that you had to call out that costume.
Yeah.
Mm.
I was like, this is, I was like, so I think we're people that really love music because we very much like, he's like, no, I want to be an actor, not a Somali actor, but an actor. I said, okay, say what I have about Kuku Hirdona. You know, everyone in the city are there like film directors, whatever.
Mhm.
I said, that's ganaya about Kuku Hirdona, you know, like, and hopefully that will do something for you. But I think that I was like, that's amazing that you were able to do that. I'm just like, even in Mogadishu, I've not seen kids doing that. Mogadishu is usually like the city that will be the most forward in terms of like pushing the culture, you know, just kind of doing things that Somalis might. I think Mogadishu is like one city that's a little bit more open in terms of being like open to like subversive cultures, like kind of pushing the cultural norms on. Like they're not as traditional as other cities. So like I can see that creativity and innovation there. Like Khalid Kayo and Saeed something. I think Saeed Tarek. I don't know. I think that's his name. They did a Somali version of Dunkazuro, like this reggaeton song.
Oh, no way.
Qalbiga kurime. So that was like them doing something different. But I've never seen dreadlocks, girls twerking in music videos, and he was doing that chick chicka. And I said, wow. So I think that, you know, and I rate him for doing that. They had a whole group. They were like the Chichiga New Boys and stuff like
Oh,
that.
wow.
And I was like, wallahi, if you were still doing music now, I would have interviewed you for
Mhm.
Isirka. Because I have this whole sub-series called Ragga Dambe,
Mhm.
focusing on Somali male artists and vulnerability.
Tell us a bit more about Ragga Dambe.
So Ragga Dambe is a sub-series that I started because I don't really, I said this at the book fair, so I can say it here, I guess. I don't really say this too much, but Isika is a female only production for the most part. Like it's 85% women's voices on the podcast. I talk about women, interview women, and that's because Somali women are missing from the mainstream. We don't tell their stories, and I am a woman, so I'd like to talk to, you know, other women. But also most importantly, I don't go around saying that it's a women's only podcast. I mean, there are some men that are on there, but I'm also not putting it in a box. I'm just making that my norm. The same way Somali men have made Somali society their norm, but they've given us that quota, the 30% in political participation, you know? So meel bay nagu yar xidhan, you know, waa xuquuqda dumarka is intan yar, you know? Like, so I did the same to them with Ragga Dambe, where I made them outside of my norm.
Okay.
So a lot of times they exist within Ragga Dambe. I think Sayyid Ali and my dad are the only ones that are not a part of Ragga Dambe that were men that I had on the podcast, but I love both of them a lot. And so they're okay. And
So it's a series of male
artists.
artist
Yeah.
interviews.
Yeah. So some of them are interviews, some of them are just artistic profiles.
Okay.
And that was a concept that I really love Khadir Keo. Like absolutely love him down. I don't know him as a person, but I love his artistry and what he represents, how he portrays himself. And I started the podcast 2020. 2021 was his year. Hargeysa Umede, he did an Astan performance live. Not one hair is out of place. Like the way, like how he was so particular on his game about how he looked and how he performed. He did a couple music videos. He did a music video with in DJ Adam's studio. He did a couple songs with DJ Adam, did the beat for him. And then he has this one where it was like a heartbreak song. I don't know why these girls keep playing with this man. But these girls have broken this man's heart over and over again, and I need y'all to leave him alone.
Or continue because he's producing the stuff that you want.
Yeah, now that he's been married, he hasn't produced anything new in a while.
See?
He was here last month for a wedding, but he needs to come back and, you know, do some more music. Him and Qabr Sugani did a song together, Sahib, and Rancho is the one that he did the heartbreak song where he was dancing on the rocks in Kabile, and I love that song. Love that song because Somalis really love this nostalgic, like this love that I had that was lost, and I think the way they always talk about loss and they still appreciate that experience of having it even though it's gone, and they lament that it's gone so much, and I wonder if they love the fact that it's gone more than they actually enjoyed it.
Interesting.
Yeah, because there's really a weird obsession, like very weird obsession, but I really loved that song. So, anyways, I was watching him a lot, and then Sharma Boy was also doing like he had his own drama going on, and then Ismail had the podcast was like a year in Atqobah, and I met Ismail here in Hargeisa. Well, we met each other in London, but we saw each other here. And I always used the first time when I heard about him in London was like, oh, he's this Somali guy that writes romance novels in Somali, and I couldn't love the way listen with it. Even to this day, I interviewed him, I think, or we did an episode together maybe that same year. And I said that to him, and he's like, "What's the big deal?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What's the big deal? Somalis are like the least like verbally affectionate human beings of all time,
Yes.
and you're writing romance novels in Somali.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and you live in the West.
That's amazing.
I'm just kind of like so then." Yeah, there's so many things going on there, and then but he also always speaks to me in English, so I'm just kind of also I just thought he was just a Somali man that existed in Somalia. That's why he writes in Somali, like, but there's something about it was a conscious choice to be that artist or that person that works within the Somali language.
So you got a wide range on Ragga Dambe.
Yeah, so actually, but this is all I'm just telling you how it started.
Okay.
Yeah, so those two were my main inspiration though. Basically, it was either gonna be I wanted to be Ismail Ubah, but we couldn't do a time to figure out like an interview, like we and then in Khadr KO, and then I ended up actually I think the first episode ended up being Sharma Boy.
Nice.
Yeah, so Raggi Dambe, it's go for is basically that I think that music came within a Somali context when we were going towards when we were around the same time as decolonization, moving towards modernization. But like the me life, we were going away from that. We were coming into the towns and into the cities. So for me, I'm just kind of like there is a deep psychological shift in how Somalis are understanding life when music came to be. We're thinking about the modernization. We're thinking about urbanization. We're moving into urbanization. We're thinking about what does Somali identity mean as a whole national identity, as opposed to Mesha Yarad Kasoche did, like, and are we all one people? We're living in 5 different colonial territories, like so many different things. And so basically, Ragga Dambe just talk about all of those, like any artist, that kind of Somali male artist, and the ways in which the vulnerability is important because I think that's a piece that's normally missing. Somali men are supposed to be like, very tough. And even like when I talk about Ragga Dambe, like I saw this Hadrawi interview, Lana Haristo, where he was talking about he was 4 years old and he was a kid chine and he cried. And they said, "Nin batem hada oisa." He's 4 years old. And then he's now the man that's writing like, about this woman that he saw in Beledweyne. Like, they all these like major love songs, Child Dig Malok, that's about like Mogol and stuff like that. But really, really deep lamenting feelings like in these songs that he's writing. And so I'm like, what would his people have said about him, about where he is now? So yeah, so Ragga Dambe is basically focused on contemporary male art, Somali artists. So
That's a beautiful segment. What
yeah.
season is that? So that
No, it flows in between all of it. It's not its own season. So there's one about Sharma Boy. Then I did one about when Sharma Boy and Kanan did YOY, the song together.
Yes.
So then I did one about that because Kanan was the first Somali artist that we had access to in the West. And he didn't even do too much. He just sprinkled in a little like Somali 1-2. But do you remember when he sings Gabriel Shubhan, Mara Shabelahu?
Of course.
Yeah, and that was like, whoa, we have access to Somali language in a way that was acceptable to us because it wasn't completely Somali music our moms would listen to. It was cool, English rap, and he just threw a little Somali.
Let me tell you what that song did for our moms. So my mom was driving a bus in Canada, so she had a bunch of school kids in the back.
Yeah.
And for some reason, someone played that one Kanan song on the phone, and mom goes, "That's my cousin." They rated her like.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kanan has a big spot for a lot of people at that time who were like we were Somalis in the West, but we weren't given any credit for being Somali.
No,
and we were some of the most creative people.
Yeah, and that was also, I mean, he was fresh from Dixon, so it's kind of like it was Somalis, especially during that time. It was bad.
Yeah.
Like the boys were doing madness, like, like boys were getting killed left and right, like especially in Canada. Like, so the integration for us was still like deep in, like we were trying to figure out, like.
Really, we crept in through rap, I would say.
Yeah.
And now I think we're coasting real well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amina, for giving us all those inside juices and telling us a lot more about you and Isirka. And you and Isirka are just, it's Amina Isirka, okay, guys?
Yeah,
From
literally.
now on.
Yeah. Everyone already calls me Amina Isirka.
Yeah.
I think also what's very interesting to me is the ways in which I just changed my Facebook name to Amina Isir, and people really call me Isir. Like people I've been known
Mm-hmm.
just start calling me Isir, and I'm just kind of like, how? So if I call myself Dayah tomorrow, are you gonna start calling me Dayah? Like it's just like, but it's just how fast it just literally has become. But I also, it's become a very interesting conversation starter.
Yes.
They're always like, oh, is it your
It's a,
family name?
it's beautiful. The other day we went to the Hergel and she was like, my name's Amina. And he goes, hey, Amina Isir. He goes, Esh, Ana.
That's why I do it. Because
Yeah.
they're like, oh, say wallahi. And then I'm like, maga'egawa. So they're like, is it your family name? Is it your name? Oh, chiba. I know what it means.
So
I
I would say a big takeaway from Amina here is to get yourself a nice creative little name to cover up the part that we're
Or find your
from
own way,
abroad.
because I think the music is what I did first. I sang to him first, right? That guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then he was like, what did he say? Do you remember what he said exactly?
Yeah, he just started interrogating you.
He said, "Tan محل ذا بربتشوك." I said, "What أنت تمودي?" He goes, "ماما ده واحد تهاي بقى." And I was like, "Oh, I tried at least."
Yeah, you did. You did. Nice icebreakers you have. Okay, let me get you on a little what do they call it nowadays? Fire
Rapid
round.
questions?
Rapid
Okay.
questions. There you
Hey,
go.
let's go.
So, based obviously, because we're dealing with Isuka out here,
Mm.
what are your 3 songs that this trip are your resonating songs? Just 3.
عبد القادر Chupa's Hargeisa,
Okay.
definitely. Because and Ilka Asa State of Abdul Mother, because I've heard Ilka Asa every single day that I've been here. And third one, Sarah Ahmed, Nabsigiyo Ayam Code.
Wonderful. Okay, I got my playlist for the way home.
Very different songs, but yeah.